From beautiful downtown Millheim, in the smack dab center of the Keystone State, this is Lou Bryson with Seen Through a Glass, a podcast that's mostly about food and drink in central Pennsylvania. Welcome to episode 58, Zeno's and Chumley's State College Icons. You know, one of the first episodes of the podcast, way back in December of 22, was an interview with Dave Staab, longtime manager at Zeno's, the legendary beer bar in State College. I knew I had to talk about the bar that had launched so many better beer lovers. We talked about the bar's great history. It's a good episode if you haven't heard it yet. And one of the episodes that's been on my to-do list since before I even recorded the pilot episode was a show on the gay bars of Central PA. And then I did some research and found out how very few of them there were, and decided maybe it'd be better and easier to just do a show on Chumley's, the iconic gay bar that staked a place right on College Avenue in the early 80s, back when being homosexual often meant being unacceptable, targeted, but not at Chumley's. I just had to figure out when to do it. Then I met Ellen Braun at a mutual friend's Christmas party a couple years ago. Ellen was managing Chumley's, and we quickly became friends. I did a little booze consulting for her, she gave me some glassware for my bar, and Kathy and I went to Chumley's a few times for drinks. Well, next thing you know, Ellen's now the manager of both of these bars, and I realized that this would be a great time to see where Zeno's is headed post-COVID, and to finally get that Chumley's story. Because, as you're going to hear in the interview, Ellen takes being entrusted with two such legacies very seriously. They are two institutions that are important parts of the town and the very large university just across the street. Now, that very large university looms large over every place in the area because Penn State students take home the things they love. That's a big part of how Yuengling blew up in the early 90s, for instance. And they also take with them the memory of the places they loved. Zeno's, Chumley's, both of these places have seen generations return. Now, this is not going to be an interview that's only about drinks and food. This is going to be about the importance of the third place, the place you go when you're not at home or work. This is about how a good bar, a bar with a heart and soul that is the amalgam of all the people who worked there, drank there, and sometimes grew to love each other there, can transcend being a retail booze emporium and become something much more. If you're wondering whether I did a Chumley's interview just because it's Pride Month, no. The interview was already on my calendar for this past Sunday for over a month. The opportunity came up and I took it. But also, yes, because the funny thing is, I just remembered the night before the interview that it is Pride Month, and I decided to scramble to get everything edited and scripted so I could run this episode today, before the month was out. That's my little contribution to Pride, to all my LGBTQ friends and family. We fly the Philadelphia Pride flag every day at our house, right beside Old Glory, so everyone knows they've got a friend in the smack dab center of the Keystone State. And, you know, getting a good drink is pretty important too. What else is in this episode? Well, long interview again, so not a lot, but Tuesday of this week was Kiwanis Blueberry Day, when a lot of Center County lines up to get 10 pounds of awesome fresh blueberries. So Kathy and I made a blueberry cobbler for our wine club dinner that night, and I'll tell you about that. I've also got an announcement about the new book, some upcoming events, and a nice promotional item you can get if you pre-order before the book actually comes out. So stick around for that. Right now, though, here's what I'm drinking today. That wasn't a mistake. Once again, what I'm drinking today is two drinks. Heaven Hill sent me some bourbon samples recently, including the B525 barrel-proof bottling of Larceny, and the new Old Fitzgerald 7-year-old bottled in bond. And since both of these are wheated bourbons using the same mash bill of 68% corn and 20% wheat and 12% malt, but are supposed to be different, I thought it would be fun to try them side by side. I think it's always interesting to try similar whiskeys side by side. I'm going to take the Old Fitz first because it's only 100 proof. The age is 7 years. The suggested retail price is $60, though you may see it for a lot more online. I remember Old Fitz Bonded that was only 4 years old. Probably still have some somewhere in the cellar. I expect this to be a little bit different than that. Let's have a taste. I mean, it does have a nice color. It's got a good kind of orange amber. Plenty of aroma there. I get peanuts, but I also get the circus peanuts thing. I don't know if you're familiar with them. They're kind of like an orange sponge candy. Some oak. Wow, yeah. Some spicy oak there. Let's taste. That's all there on the palate, and I'm trying to decide, is this whiskey thin or is it just easy? I think it's nicely warming. The finish is great. It just goes on and on with that orange and wood spice. There's probably more oak in the finish than there is anywhere else. This is a great whiskey for a porch. It's a whiskey that is definitely good enough to sip, but it's not so crazy complex that you're just going to sit there and think about that instead of talking to people. I like a whiskey like that. Yeah. No snap or rye, of course. That's just not there because there isn't any. All right, let's try the Larceny. The Larceny barrel proof is, as I said, the B525 batch. It's just out, and it's bottled at an uncut 117.4 proof. The age is given at a fairly vague 6 to 8 years, what would be labeled as a 6-year-old. The suggested retail here is $65, and in this case, that's about what you'll see it for online. Let's taste and then compare. A hotter nose, but not fiery hot, and wow, a seemingly much sweeter nose. There's actually some notes of cocoa in there, and it's sweet, but there's also some chocolate. Toffee? Taffy, not toffee. It's like saltwater taffy, that kind of freshly sweet smell. Wow, that's really interesting. Let me smell that next to that is definitely a different nose than the Old Fitz. Much more similar on the palate. Hotter, obviously, with the 117 proof. Oh, that nose is intriguing. I like this better on the palate. The finish isn't quite as long as the Old Fitz. Let me get a drink of water here. All right, try the Old Fitz again. And the Larceny. There's no doubt about it. The 117 proof comes through as a punch. But, wow. Better finish on the 7-year-old. Better palate on the Larceny. This is hard to call. Interesting similarities and differences. I think I'm leaning to the Larceny for the money, if only because this is going to hold up better with ice or seltzer or both. But these are, once again, two good whiskeys, and no surprise there. And these days, not bad value for the money. And now it's time for Smack Dab in the Center, sponsored by the Happy Valley Adventure Bureau. You know I love Penns Valley, this land between the ridges that we've made our home. The road that runs through the valley, Route 45, is Milheim's Main Street, right in front of our house. And it's how we came here, how we got away from the rush and hustle of the suburbs. We invite you to join us with Route 45 Getaways, a week-long celebration of the scenery and small-town attractions along this classic Center County two-lane. From July 25th to August 3rd, from Woodward Cave to the Pine Grove Mills Farmers Market, it's 32 miles of local shopping, great food and drink, and art shops and museums, all in the heart of beautiful farmland and forests. That whole week, participating businesses will have special events, sales, and unique offerings that you'll find on the website, Route, that's ROUTE 45getaways.com. You'll find antiques, artworks, local crafts, and foods, plants, and pottery for sale all along the route. And of course, drinks are plentiful with 4 wineries, 2 cideries, and a brewery or 2. You can get everything from a snack to a full meal along the way at a range of restaurants, from the jazzy menu at Pine Grove Hall to the delicious informality at the Frosty Hook or the Milheim Hotel. Culture stops include the Bowl Museum and the Runnymede Arboretum, or you can make your own at Stitch Your Art Out. We love it here, and so will you, along the road through the valleys on Route 45 Getaways, July 25th through August 3rd. Find all the details and all the great places on the Route45getaways.com website. I don't have much more to add before we do the interview. Many of you already know Zeno's, and I suspect many of you at least know of Chumley's. And if you don't know either one of them, I suggest you remedy that. For the past 30 years, my job has required me to go to bars on 3 continents, in Munich, Edinburgh, San Francisco, Chicago, Santiago, D.C., Dusseldorf, Seattle, New Orleans, Dublin. And I am not exaggerating when I say that Zeno's and Chumley's could slot into any of those bar scenes and hold their heads high, easily making it as a good option for a night out. We're lucky to have them here. Now, the actual interview, the occasional drinking and ice tinkling you'll hear is, sadly, only water. Although we were in Zeno's, surrounded by good booze, in a cool room below street level, the nasty heat that was outside was on our minds, and ice water sounded pretty good. Also, I couldn't find my 4th mic, so Justin and Sofie shared one, and occasionally they may get a bit softer. Anyway, grab a chair, get a glass of water, or whatever, and join us. Hey, I'm at Zeno's Pub. I'm with Ellen Braun, the general manager of Zeno's and Chumley's. Sophia is the Zeno's shift manager in training, and Justin Griffin, the assistant GM for both bars as well. Hi.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay. Ellen, if I could just get you to say your name and just so I can identify voices for those.
Oh, yeah, sure. My name's Ellen Braun.
Okay.
I'm Sofie.
And I'm Justin.
All right. Now we know who we are. We've got 2 landmark bars here. Both these places have been open for quite a while. And whoever wants to take this, just describe each bar briefly, what the current character is, and I don't know what the mission, the aim, the raison d'etre. Yeah, don't jump all in at once.
It's one of those funny things. I've been a regular customer at both bars long before I worked there for 20 years. And they really share a lot in common. I mean, Chumley's obviously is now a very historic gay bar.
Yeah.
But it's a lot more than that. And I think a lot of it owes to its community character. And it's cozy, it's home. Zeno's is a lot like that as well, except maybe a little more raucous.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got live music is definitely going to do that, but very community oriented, 100%. It's a beautiful place to hang out and meet people. Hang out with the regulars, and you got people rolling through town. Maybe they're here once, and they're like, "This is an awesome bar."
Yeah, I find it. I mean, the first time I was in Zeno's, I think was in the maybe 2000.
Really?
Yeah, but I was here for one night, and it was a long night. But I come back here now, and it amazes me. I thought the place was twice this size because there was so much going on, And yes, it was that raucous too. But yeah, it's just a place. And I mean, Chumley's is much smaller.
It's much smaller.
Yeah.
A third of the capacity.
Okay. Has Chumley's been redesigned?
Yes. Right when COVID started, our new owners of our building had just bought the place, and we had to shut down. And Chumley's was the smallest property, so the easiest to expand and redo. So we were high on their list.
Yeah. So
there used to be a 6-pack shop right next to Chumley's. It was probably 10 by 10 with just walls and walls of beer.
Yes.
And they made that into part of Chumley. So that doubled our street visibility.
Oh, nice.
And really made a big difference.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, the owners put some really thoughtful changes in play.
They did a lot at all the properties during COVID, right?
They did, yep.
Yeah, smart.
Yep.
I mean, when else do you get to clean the place? Really, really, yeah.
We still have a 6-pack of Zima from the cleaning.
Right.
Oh my God! Wow. Now, one of the first episodes I did on the podcast, I interviewed Dave Staab about Zeno's, but we talked about Zeno's up until 2022, and I mean, we were just barely coming out of COVID. How are things different here at Zeno's now? I mean, has the beer selection changed?
Yeah.
Okay.
Everything has changed with the hope of maintaining a thread that keeps it all together. Oh. Because trends in beer were already, when Dave was just getting ready to move on, beer was getting less popular. Our selection of beer it's harder to find. Interesting beers, and music has changed. The way people listen to music, the way people go to bars, the way people drink everything, including liquor. We sell a lot more mocktails, which I know Dave was starting to lean into.
Wow. Okay.
When he was leaving, and I think everything has changed. The way people socialize.
And how did you address that in Zeno specifically?
Well, I think we're in the process of addressing it now.
Okay.
I think a lot of it is, trying to educate people on how important a third space is.
I love to hear that phrase. Thank you. Okay. Sorry,
I like that one too.
Yeah, I love that book.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
Great Good Place.
Yeah, and I think Zeno's has always been that way, and I think there have always been changes in the trends that have happened with that central theme of being the third place, third space. I think that that'll be what gets us to whatever our identity becomes.
Yeah, but assuming it doesn't just keep changing.
Yeah, well, evolution is natural and healthy, I think.
Oh, like a shark, you got to keep moving.
Yeah, exactly.
I think one of the interesting things, and I think it's been challenging but fun to navigate, is, you look at Zeno's wasn't always chock full of import beer from all over and stuff you weren't going to find anywhere else. Well, nowadays, let's look at just what's going on there, how many brewers there are that are making good craft beer, and they're making the styles that even 10 years ago you wouldn't see anywhere unless you were importing it direct from Germany.
Yeah.
So it's been more of an ability to explore what's going on, in your backyard, as well as let's bring in some fun stuff out of Europe and compare and contrast. It's a good fun time to talk to the customers and get them into what some people come in, they know what they're looking for. But other people, maybe they've never had a Kolsch or a Goza.
Yeah.
Right? And so it's very exciting for me. I am a big beer drinker, and I love talking about it.
The main reason I come to Zeno's anymore is I'm looking for those imports because they aren't anywhere else.
Right.
Everyone else has really gone very much American craft,
Right.
sometimes imported craft, but mostly American. Because like you said, you can get, on the other hand, I remember coming in here not too long ago, and I had a bottle of Dodala. I'm like, I love that. I really was. I was like a little kid. I'm like, I can't believe they had this. It's great.
Yeah. Just for some historical context, when I first turned 21, I have a picture of an ad from the newspaper about Zeno's. Zeno's, six beers on tap. Thursdays only from 9 to 2.
Oh my God.
And about that time, I was working at the Rathskeller. And at the Rathskeller, I don't know how it happened, but they had 16 beers on tap, including Whitbread, Watney's, Harp, Guinness,
Bass.
Anchor Steam, Bass, all the good stuff.
Yeah.
And the Skeller had a little bit of a different mission, and it didn't really work out there. But then Dave really picked it up, and I think, went the extra mile, and with, cask conditioned beers and getting to know distributors of beer and brewers and everything like that. And I think he really just took it and ran with it. He did an amazing job.
The thing I loved about that, and I asked him about that in the episode, was how that program spread out in the area.
Yeah.
I mean, we talked about alumni, and we weren't talking about college alumni. We were talking about Zeno's alumni.
Yeah.
People who learned good beer and went out and opened their own places. I just think that cross-fertilization was phenomenal. When you set up a tap list at Zeno's, what kind of considerations go into that? What are you thinking about? Are you, is it so many IPAs, so many Pennsylvanias, so many darks? What is it?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much there. I mean, you want to maintain a balance, and I think one of the strengths of Zeno's is that historically there were always Belgian styles. So we try to keep that rotated in, and so you look seasonally. So we'll, obviously you go heavier and darker in the wintertime, but you still keep some stuff on because someone who wants a stout, whether it's 100 degrees out like it is like today. That's what they want. So you pretty much, you have to kind of think ahead, like, because you're not just making it for me or for the average person. It's not sanitized corporate. It's, what are we doing? What's fun? What's happening? So just for instance, I had a very great Allagash brewery tap event this week, and we were able to get, you think of Allagash, you think of Belgian white.
Sure.
Well, we also have it. We got a hazy IPA and a stout and saison, and it's like perfect balance.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you want to hit.
As you rotate through seasonally, whatever, are you looking at? I guess what I want to find out is, are you asking wholesalers for stuff and seeing what they can get, or are they telling you, or how does that work?
There's a back and forth there, because often it's like, hey, we're really looking to expand what we've got going on here. Like, so there are a couple brands that we'll keep as mainstays largely, especially basically year round. Mm-hmm. But then there's other stuff that we'll put on for the season and look what can we do fun to follow that up. The other side too, you build those relationships, and then they come to you like, hey, we've got some. You're in central Pennsylvania. It's like some things pretty much have to end here in the distribution pipeline deliberately. So when they're getting something cool, that they're reaching out to us and saying, hey, we've got this amazing Belgian sour made from a brewery, in Maine. And let's get that on. And it's like, sometimes it is like 6 months down the road. I mean, Jesus, we had setting up for Oktoberfest was like a year in advance to get the imports. And because that mattered, because that's what people want.
Yeah.
So you're going to do it, you do it right. Yeah,
you want it. Beer's not just taps. You have bottles and cans as well. Are you trying to set a different balance when you look at the bottles and cans versus the tap?
Absolutely.
Okay.
The taps, you definitely have. There is a different play there. The bottles are a better way to get some of the more unusual things. So especially in your imports, and oftentimes it's the more expensive stuff. If you get a keg, I mean, even if it's a $6, if it's a pricey thing, you don't want it sitting and going bad.
Yeah.
So the bottles are an easier way to sort of do that, and trying to revamp a takeout program for all the BYO restaurants in town, so you can get an excellent beer. Because some of these, maybe you only want one of this really heavy, really, really powerful tasting style, but you're getting it, picking it up, and taking it out to dinner. That's great.
Tell me about the spirits, because I don't necessarily think of spirits, cocktails, etc. when I think of Zeno's, but
we're working on that actually.
Yeah.
I think when you talk to Dave at the end of his time here, he was starting to really pair whiskeys and beer, which is kind of a natural pairing. I think our crowd is sort of more music driven now, and some of the people who come from music are more interested in cocktails. So we've been a little bit creative, and we're trying to keep things simple for cocktails, but simple but good quality. So, and also pushing the whiskeys, which is again a natural.
Yeah. I think it does come together pretty easily.
So we have a new seltzer menu, which is highballs, and also we're being creative with different flavored vodkas. Some of the really good quality flavored vodkas, and using local shrubs.
Very nice.
Yeah, and they're selling really well.
Cool.
And also, a couple just accessible cocktails, a bee's knees.
Oh,
we
yeah.
now know how to make a great martini really good old-fashioned. We have great Manhattans. A lot of the basics, we have really good quality. And the bartenders are really good at educating themselves about that kind of stuff.
This is something I was just thinking about the other day when I ordered a Manhattan and got an old-fashioned that had been shaken. There seems to be a lack of, I don't know,
I can't.
trained people that have even the slightest idea what's going on.
Yeah, because I like a martini, but I like a martini, not not whatever.
Yeah, whatever
this
happens
bar
to come in
makes.
that glass. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that just because I've also worked at Chumley's and just having the training from Chumley's, from Justin and Ellen, and then being able to bring that to Zeno's in a space that has not ever really done a martini or I don't think the bartenders used to know how to make an old fashioned, but just having that knowledge and being able to bring it here to this space and do it well, but yeah, like you said, simply. So I think not complicating it like some bars tend to do.
I recall when we first started, when Ellen and I first started down here, it was kind of seeing what was going on. I think they remember there was a pisco sour on the menu, and it was just pisco and sours. And I was just like, let's not do that.
Well, we still have our space herpes, but we can also make you a
and it wasn't always easy to find a bottle of vermouth in.
Oh my God!
Yeah, we
now we go through it. We know it's fresh and good and tasty, and we know how to use it. So.
Oh yeah, we've come a long way with the cocktails. Our liquor sales are up significantly in the last year.
I mean, that's what people want. I mean, that's what everyone tells me. Yeah.
And I think it's also like trying to appeal to more women too, because I mean there are women that like beer. I like beer, but women do like cocktails, and young women who are new to drinking like cocktails. Like a bee's knees, like a Cosmo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this more a guy place?
Yes.
Tends to be.
Okay.
It has been. I mean, I started coming here in '83, and that's why I came here, because there were you guys always.
It's certainly evolved, and
Yeah.
I think it was kind of hilarious watching this. Again, Ellen and I have been customers here for decades, and the times you come down, maybe there's an event going on, maybe not, and it's predominantly women right now. And it's like, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's been a very big shift. When I started, I worked with Dave for a month. But now it's, the bartenders have been here 2-3 years. And it's mostly women, queer people. It's a different staff for sure.
And I think Zeno's was always open about that.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
I think always trying to cultivate that culture. I do think that Dave was really a good leader in that direction. Mm-hmm. But I think beer sort of, beer bars were guy bars.
Yeah.
At least
brewing was a guy
thing.
Yeah.
And now there are more women involved in brewing. In fact, Amber, who worked here, is now working at Bowl City. And they made their own beer that all the women there participated in the making of it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I don't feel like I'm too old for Zeno's, but at the same time, I doubt I'd be in here much past 9 o'clock at the latest. What's it like here later? I mean, I guess, what is the clientele?
It's funny, especially because, again, Ellen and I came kind of down from Chumley's, and as Chumley's became vastly more cocktail oriented over the last decade, you're not generally serving a lot of Manhattans and full bore cocktails at midnight. And if you are, you're a little circumspect, but what's going on here?
Yes.
Well, Zeno's obvious. So I am a late night bar person. You'll catch me at last call pretty much anywhere, as long as they're still going. Mm-hmm. And so Zeno's definitely does maintain that a little bit. Now, post-pandemic, there's been a trend. The adult crowd does not stay out late, not even kind of the way they used to.
Right.
So you do see a drop off, but usually the last hour here, there's still going on.
Yeah, that's funny though, because one of the things I want to focus on now is cross-generational promotion. Because I do feel like there's the old Zeno's crowd and the new Zeno's crowd. I want them to interact with each other. So, and the music is one way of doing that. We're working on ways of having bands of different generations play on the same night.
Okay.
Maybe even a band that has younger people in the band, that kind of stuff. And also employees, I'm in my 60s, these guys are totally different generations. I think that representation sort of helps bridge that gap too. But I understand what you're saying. Most of my friends come to Zeno's early. And it's a challenge to me because when we were younger, this was the place, always. Yeah. And it doesn't even occur to me that, we have to go to bed earlier now, but it's true.
I know.
It really makes a big difference. So we're working on that.
Mm-hmm. Zeno's has been here 53 years? 52?
Since 72, so 53, yeah.
Yeah. Chumley's over 40?
Yeah, 41 this year.
41.
Is that a responsibility?
Yeah, it's huge for me.
Like it's on you now.
It's huge for me. And, my experience at the Skeller sort of informs that because the sense of tradition was so strong there. And I was a kid when I was working there, and it made a huge impact on me. The honoring tradition and just having respect for what came before, even if things evolve and change. And I think that is a big reason for the success of Chumley's, and I think during Dave's tenure, it was a big reason for the success of Zeno's too.
Yeah, I think Zeno's was lucky to have Dave for such a long stretch. It set a tone.
Yep, and I think it's similar at Chumley's too. I mean, people come back. It's funny, I don't remember what I did yesterday, but I remember some guy who came in and ordered a martini 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But I think that's really, really important. And I'd like to be able to figure out a way to sell that to younger people so that they understand how important it is, that it's not just standing in line. Your experience at bars are formative. You want them to be connected to something.
Yeah.
It weighs huge on me. I think that's a big, big point.
Yeah. Wow. How do you keep it going? How do you honor it but not let it get stale?
Yeah. And I do think that hiring the right people like these two and our other employees too, just represented by where everybody is not, it's not a monolithic way of thinking and seeing things. We have different points of view. We respect that. I think that keeps us nimble, and I think it gives you more continuity.
I think what's special about that, the idea of, you have a mixed age group. Young people learn how to be in bars by experience.
Yes, that's really well put.
And when I think about, the kids who are, lining up to go to like the rowdy party bar on a Saturday night. Of course they want to do that. I did that when but I went to a lot of different kinds of bars when I was 20. And, because when you're, I can speak now in my 40s, I don't want to go to the rowdy party bar at it's when you're coming back to relive those memories. Where are you going?
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing here because nobody is gone. Nobody truly leaves, even academically or not. Whether you're a football fan or not, people end up rolling back through one way or another.
Yeah.
Particularly we have such a large contingent of graduate students, or for both Chumley's and Zeno's, and next thing you know, there's a conference that brings back some people you haven't seen for 10, 15 years. We had some old friends up because a couple people just defended, and so people that were older than them that moved on a few years, they come back to celebrate that.
Nice.
And that continuity it's huge and it's wonderful. And the best part is when they come back and say, they haven't found a place like this. That this is home. And
it's great. Got to be a great feeling.
Yeah, I think one thing I hear a lot from the young people that come in, they're like, I had to come here because this was my dad's favorite bar.
Wow.
And then getting them to keep coming back and then being like, now this is my favorite bar is really rewarding, and just seeing that, again, continuity. And
I remember when I was pretty new here, Ken Caledonia is a local band, and they're great. They were playing, and it was an all-ages crowd, and it was so fantastic. And I had like 10 people I knew come up and say, "This is like an Irish pub. This is a pub is a public house. It's where everybody goes." And I really feel like there's potential for that. I think it already exists, but I think there's potential to make that grow. And I know that it already happens at Chumley's and has for years.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Chumley's.
Yeah.
What was the early Chumley's like? I mean, I read the page on the website, which I love having that page there. What?
Chumley's has changed dramatically, as has life for gay people all over America, and for the better, I think. When I started working at Chumley's in 1993, it was almost all gay men. A lot of them from rural areas, towns around here that didn't have gay bars.
Okay.
And very few, but some academic people. And then I think when Penn State started offering partner benefits, then we started to see more married gay couples who were openly gay wherever they were coming from, you know.
In 93, when you started working there, was it openly on the street, big sign? Because, I mean, I've heard stories about how it wasn't.
There was a frosted window, although they didn't frost the window for any reason other than aesthetics. They just frosted it.
Okay.
But it made it a little safer. Like, you couldn't just see. I know people, I still see people who said, "I came here 40 years ago and I would walk around the block until I was sure nobody would see me coming in, or else I wouldn't go in."
Yeah.
So it was a much more closeted place. It was intimidating for people who hadn't gone there before, and it was a lot more insular crowd. Like, if anybody new walked in, everybody would turn around and look at them.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And that evolved. Once Penn State started offering partner benefits, then...
Which was...
I wish I could remember the date. It's all a blur for me now. But
I hear you.
But I think then professors who were openly gay and comfortable would come in and bring their grad students in, whether they were gay or not. Mm-hmm. And that's when we started seeing more women, more of a mix of people, more straight people, and then also a lot more people who were probably curious, who didn't ever want to admit to themselves that they were gay. That's one of I feel very strongly about being open to everybody at Chumley's, because you never know who might be struggling.
Yeah, who might need it.
Who might just come in and say, "Oh, well, this isn't so strange or different. It's okay." You know, and I've seen that happen so many times. It's really moving when you see that happen. So it's changed a lot.
Yeah.
One of the great things too is that, you know, the more open things became, it was more open within the queer community. Mm-hmm. Instead of because it was a monolith. It was gay men specifically, of a certain type.
Very few people of color. Very few women. And yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, Ellen knows better than I do. It was. I mean, that's what I grew up. I was 21. I was in Chumley's, and you know, I was that kid who walked in. You know, before they opened up the front space, so it was the hallway essentially that you walk down, and people look up from their beer, and everyone looks over, and it's not a great experience.
But then there are people who are really married to the idea of the old style of gay bar, where it was like a private club, because it was essentially a private club, because other people wouldn't go through that door. So, you know, I know a lot of older gay men who just really miss those days and don't enjoy the fact that the culture has changed. And I also feel for them. I understand where that's coming from, and hope we can make them comfortable anyway.
Well, that actually really anticipates my next question. So let's do that. I have a bit of a lead-in. Bear with me. When I first started doing the podcast, I brainstormed and came up, and a Gay Bars of Central Pennsylvania episode was on that list fairly early. But then I started finding out that there aren't that many, and they're really widely scattered. which brings up a question. A city like Philadelphia, D.C., New York has a variety of gay bars with different characteristics. Chumley's it. You had to be all things to all people. How do you pull that off?
That was a challenge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, especially with a fairly tiny space, obviously you're not going to have a dance floor.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So what do you do?
Yeah, that was a seriously difficult time for us because, there was a time that there were a group of grad students who really they were militant about being accepted. So they started having gay nights like
takeovers at other bars.
takeovers, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so like they would get a big group of gay guys, maybe dressed in drag, and go to the Skeller or the Dark Horse or wherever. And it was an antagonistic sort of strategy on purpose. Mm-hmm. Well, so that was happening when that was all the 30 people that would be in the bar every night. And when that started happening more regularly, our owners were like, you're not doing any business. And what do you do? So oddly, what I did was I picked this kooky friend of mine, Harold Taddy, and we had an open mic night where it was just like crazy, everything goes, just sort of as weird as you can get, embracing the weirdness and the other, so that people who might not have been coming to Chumley's regularly all those years would come just for that and then stay. And actually it was a really odd time because there was friction between the regular customers and the new customers, and some of the new customers became the regular customers. Mm-hmm. We lost some older customers, but some of them, and I think, started to enjoy the more open atmosphere. And then things evolved, and eventually I think just the way society evolved, and in coordination with the way Penn State was offering partner benefits, and we had more grad students, then things started filling up again, and that's when we started finding more bisexual people, more women, more radical fairies, you name it, bears, leather community, all of that that we had never actually acknowledged before, because Chumley's was my first experience in a gay bar. I had no idea that the people I was seeing was not all there is to a gay community.
There's a lot.
Yeah, there's a lot. There's so much more. And I think now I'm much better equipped to honor all the people who are involved in different expressions.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Sorry. It's just the amount that it has changed.
Yeah.
We all have stories. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
It's unreal. I mean, we just came out at the end of the semester, the bar tour season. Then groups of kids are coming into Chumley's. That is mind blowing because, first off, if a group of like frat guys were coming in en masse 20 years ago, we're gonna have some trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll never forget one time I was standing in the last 5 years. I was standing in front of Chumley's, and a big group of looked like athletes, guys who were clearly not who I thought were gonna cause trouble, came walking by, and the one kid goes, "Oh, that's the gay bar there." And they all stopped and looked, and they said, "Well, that's cool." And they walked on like, "Oh, and here's the drugstore." I was mind blown.
Yeah.
I just was shocked and so happy.
Yeah. It still bugs me that people have to come miles to get to one.
Yeah.
But at least it's there.
At least it's there.
Yeah. We kind of glanced off another thing that I wanted to ask, and I promise we're going to get past the gay bar and get to the bar part, because I definitely want to talk about the bar part.
Yeah.
In 2025, do LGBTQ people want to go to a place like Chumley's, an overtly friendly and welcoming place, or do they just want to go to any place they want, or some of both?
Well, that's an important part of our evolution too, because there was a time when everything in State College was suddenly gay friendly, and that's the way it is currently.
Yeah.
So that's when we had to become a good bar.
Yeah,
so
that had to have an effect on your business.
Yeah. Not that we weren't. I think we were a very decent bar for many years. Not always at the very beginning, maybe. But I think eventually we became, knowledgeable and had a decent selection. We always had a decent selection. I think a lot of gay bars have the best drinks in town, But when we started really leaning into that, it was great. So now I think, so Justin, you had your friends visiting. Remember when John and Adam came to visit? And they had been there in the old days, but we had live music, great cocktails, they're now in their 40s.
Right. These are college friends of mine who they obviously moved out of the area. Like they haven't really been back like 15 years. Mm-hmm. And this is obviously, post-pandemic. We've renovated. It's a whole different space. And they're just like, oh yeah, let's go to Chumley's. Let's check it out. And we have live music going on. We have amazing food coming out of the Allen Street Grill kitchen, and the whole experience. And they were just floored because this was a complete 180 of what they may have expected. I think they were like, we'll come get get a Yingling draft and and just hang out like the old times
and a stupid shot of some kind.
Right. And now and it's funny because then they came back. It's like, you guys want to go to Zeno's? You want to go? No, we want to stay here.
Yeah. It's been fun, and the support of our owners has been a huge part of our success, and they have really helped educate us about cocktails. I mean, our gin and tonic program, our tequilas and mezcals, and our knowledge about whiskey and beer and even wine has just expanded. And we're nerdy about that anyway. So we like that. It's a natural fit for us. But with the support of our owners, it's just really taken off.
Yeah, if they get it, then it works. Yeah. Well, let's talk about the cocktail program. How did that evolve? How did it get started? Was it something somebody thought of, or was it?
I could speak to. Ellen always made a great cocktail, and when I was a kid and I was a customer, I'd come in and and I was learning. I was dabbling, and it took me a long way to get to where I am now. Back then, I'd have like 3 Yinglings and be done in for the night. So I worked hard at this, and I owe a lot of that success to Ellen over the years. But when I started working there, which that was a really gradual thing over a number of years, I think I started bartending there because there was an opening on a Monday night, and Ellen, I was like, hey, you want to 10 bar? And I'd done pretty much everything in the service industry except that.
Okay.
And now I'm broken. I can't do anything else. And I started there, and I'm learning. So it's a combination of what do people drink? I know what I drink. I like a martini. I like a Manhattan. And you learn, it's like, well, am I doing this right? You research. And we're always, and I will definitely point this out, we're always learning. You're never done.
Good.
There's always more to be said about everything. But it was gradual for me. And
I think another part of of our cocktail program was the curiosity of people who, like you, and other people like that. I think it's an intimate space, so it's easy for us to talk to customers. And when people, a lot of the gay people I knew over the years had lived in New York City or Philly or LA or whatever, and would come back and say, have you ever heard of this liquor? How about Campari back in the days before anybody drank Campari? Yeah. You know what I mean? So sure, let's get it. We'll get it. You know what I mean? And it was kind of attrition, just that way of just interacting with customers, which is one other reason that I really like that community intimacy of, just responding to what your customers are interested in. With your own curiosity. I think we have a good, strong sense of curiosity.
I think a curious bartender is a good bartender.
I agree very strongly,
Yeah.
And then when the new owners took over, they gave us a lot of tools, things, barrel-aged cocktails that I hadn't ever heard of, that we make ourselves from scratch, and that's great. And we have a lot more resources now of how to get liquors and beers that are hard to find.
Yeah, I mean, I went to some of their places down in Philly when I lived down there. And yeah, I mean, they were top-notch programs. Yeah. I'm really glad they brought it here.
Oh, I'm so happy
because honestly, it's the whole town has come up.
I think so too.
Yeah. I did want to talk because on the Chumley's website it says a thoughtfully curated tap selection. I have to agree. you don't have a ton of taps, but they're all good. There's no waste there.
I think it's all about curation because we're a small place. We don't have a lot of room for everything. We've always had to keep it curated. And I think...
you're not going to do the volume, for one thing.
Yeah, exactly. And you can't just... I don't want to throw everything at the wall. I think that's a big part of being an excellent bar is curating. Keeping it... you can have a bar with 3 beers and 7 whiskeys and it could be great.
Yeah.
And we have more than that, but I think curation is a huge part of it.
Yeah.
And Justin is a superstar at the curation.
Well, Ellen could not have said it better. Chumley's is a small bar. And you know how you end up with like anything in life, like in your house. It's like, how did I get all this stuff?
Yes!
That is so easy to happen with liquor.
Oh my God. Oh, yes.
Particularly,
Yes, you would know, Lou.
Yeah.
So it's at the point, we'll rotate, we have cocktail menus throughout the year, different seasons and stuff. So we'll have a bunch of something that we're using, and then we're not. And it's like, well, now what the hell am I going to do with this particular Amaro that was in a drink for Christmas? Well, we're gonna drink it, but we're gonna figure out what to do with it next. So it forced creativity in a great way.
Yeah.
And like I said, always learning. I'm always reading, and it gets the best way to do it because otherwise you're just bogged down in the whole thing, or you're stuck in your own ways, and that's no fun. That's no fun for you. It's no fun for your customers or anything. It's like, they come in, they want to try something new, try something different.
Yeah.
Even if we're doing a different spin on something we've done before, or you know what I mean? You keep it exciting, because if you're not excited, what the hell's the point?
Yeah.
And I think Chris Peters he's our purchaser, or has been our purchaser. And I think he was good at sort of giving us a selection that we never could have had before. And then Justin artfully knows how to manage here we've got this now, we've got this now, and keep it curated. And it's really been successful.
Yeah, and I love seeing what you have on there every time I come in, which is not often enough, but that's my problem. Forgive me for making this practically a footnote. I rarely order wine when I'm out. I drink wine at home. Tell me about the wine program. You mentioned it earlier briefly.
I like to drink wine, and so we have tap wine.
Okay. From where?
From a variety of places, and we rotate them in. Right now, we have a rosé that's new for us, and that's also a Chris Peters thing. He's the one who accesses that and steers us in the right direction. So, but I like having wine, and I think a lot of people, current drinking habits are leaning in the wine direction. Plus, with our good food menu, it lends itself.
The food obviously is a driver of the wine. Mm-hmm. That's just, I think, a no-brainer there. When you think of dining in a restaurant, it is mostly going to be wine. Mm-hmm. And I think one of the strengths, I think the more fortunate things about being part of a larger company here, not just being a single bar, is that we have, the Allen Street Grill has an amazing wine program, and we're able to pull off that when we need. If we're doing a special event or special dinners, or for on the holidays, things like that, that we're able to pull something a little higher shelf down for that event.
And we're doing that at Zeno's too. We had a Valentine's Day event where we had some wines, and
wow.
And actually for Oktoberfest, I think we'll have some good wines. Yeah.
Okay. Wow. Sorry. That torqued me a bit. I have never heard anyone talk about their wine program for Oktoberfest. Except
of course.
In Munich, there's a wine tent right there.
It's so obvious. Yeah.
Tell me more about the food.
The food, well, we've been really lucky with the food. So, go.
Oh, I was going to say, you got to talk about the tinned fish, too.
Oh, right.
Chumley's.
Yeah, that's
That-
one of our favorite new
How long has
things.
that been going? It's not been long.
Just under a year.
Okay.
Just under a year, I'd say. And that's a hilarious thing. That was something that, we'd never really heard of much, and it was a regular of ours. Actually, someone, Joyce, who we source tea from.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, you guys got to get in on this. And next thing you know, we're talking with our culinary directors, like, oh yeah, I've heard it. This is totally a thing. And it just kind of snowed. And then so Jeff Sorg, the owner, he's in. And so we just have this meeting where it's just us, all
Eating
of us.
fish.
And they just got like
Eating
a crate of
piles of
different
fish.
fish, just like sampling fish. And
Are you familiar? Have you had tinned fish?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it's funny because people are not, like, we have a lot of customers who know, like, who've traveled, who've been to places where there's thin fish. But also the other day somebody came in and they had never tried. They're like, I don't know about this, you know. But by the end they were loving it. It's so, and that's how we were too. We didn't know, and it's so good. It's so good.
I was at a liquor store in D.C. and their tinned fish section was, I don't know, it was almost as big as their Argentinian wine section.
That's great.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knew?
Yeah. Spent a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I did.
hey, it's not cheap.
No, it's not.
But it's
But on the other hand, neither's a burger anymore.
right.
So,
Yeah.
and as far as the rest of our food program goes, we tend to lean on small plates, although we also have some entrees and rotating menu every week. Our chef is really responsive to our crowd and great, creative and really international in its flair. It's really been a big part of our success. In fact, I think we get a lot of attention from the foodies of State College.
I was going to mention that because they do seem rather taken by the menu.
And our menu is simple. It's small. It's focused, and it's great. It's been one of my favorite parts of our expansion.
And Zeno's?
Zeno's. So now we're working in the direction of international street food.
Okay.
Street food is simple, easy to make, easy to execute, easy to serve, easy to eat, affordable, and just accessible. And so we're already starting to put some items from our menu on the menu, and the chef is working with us, and we're going to keep going in that direction.
Ah, very good.
Yeah.
I don't want to forget to ask about the Scrabble bar top. Can we talk about that? However, whatever you want to say about it. It's just
So when the
I want an
owners,
excuse to run a picture of it.
yeah,
So-
right. When our new owners took over, I think a lot of people in State College were afraid that they were going to change the character of the Hotel State College and make it into something unfamiliar. And you know how people are about that.
Yeah, they don't like it at all.
They don't like that at all.
Yeah.
So they did a lot of really intentional things to remind people that they were going to honor the history. And in Chumley's, I think they really knew that we had such a loyal crowd that they could ruffle feathers. And so we spent an earnest day.
It was a serious day.
Yeah, gluing Scrabble tiles. We had lists of the names of old regulars, maybe
Okay.
some of the local characters in town, other gay bars, TV shows, references. A lot of them LGBT oriented, but some of them just community oriented. Just sort of like a time capsule.
Where do you get all those tiles?
Oh,
You can buy anything online. You can buy 30,000 Scrabble tiles online.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I think one thing to put is that project was so much larger in scope than I think anybody had realized. I mean, we mentioned Chris Peters, the beverage director. He did the majority of it. It was many weeks.
He is a madman.
He is a
He is a
madman.
madman.
Oh my God.
He is a
That he
madman.
is.
Yeah.
Weeks of this. I mean, there were probably a dozen of us for about 10 hours doing this, and it was partially done.
and there was a lot of whiskey drunk.
There was a lot
while
of-
we were doing it.
Good. Love to hear that.
There's a lot of spirit in the project.
You can tell which side of the bar you guys were drunk
Yes.
on.
Yes. You start at the one end, and then it gets a little like
A little
weirder.
weirder. A lot more like references to like poop. towards the end. just nonsense at the end there.
Yes.
So, the food, events, the music, where do people find out about that? Is it best to just follow the Facebook page?
and Instagram for both places.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
And that's about all I have. Is there anything I missed that you wanted to talk about? I mean, feel free if there is, but
I mean,
Sophie? I feel like Sophie's, because you came in on Chumley's when we had already had something established,
Yeah,
and you're
also Zeno's,
Yeah, and
too.
Zeno's too. So, do you have any observations?
I think things are changing, which I And it's really great to actually hear your stories. I feel like I haven't gotten a chance to hear all of this. So knowing where stuff is coming from is really, really great. But I think the community aspect is something that I feel from the people that have been coming here, the new people that are coming here. And I think that's something I've always loved just about hospitality in general, is that connection and that community. And I think that we have that here at Zeno's and we have that here at Chumley's. And I think that's something that is somewhat rare in State College. I think a lot of bars don't have that. And so I think we'll always have that going for us. And I'm excited to see where music goes, where beer goes, and I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be part of this place and part of the people that are here, especially these two.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
All right. A little bit of follow-up. There are a few other gay bars in Central PA, of course, though Chumley's is perhaps the best known. There's Escapade in Altoona, that's more dance and drag-oriented. The Brownstone Lounge in Harrisburg is hot and happening with a very active events calendar. And there's Lucy's Place in Johnstown, which is as worn and comfortable as your favorite pair of blue jeans. To the best of my limited knowledge, that's it. Feel free to let me know about others. Maybe I will finally do that episode. And as for the OG beer bars, well, with Boxers down this last episode and Zeno's done twice now, that leaves 5 more in Central PA. Mastracchio's, the Winber Hotel, Kimball's Pub, Café Bruges, and the Jean Monnet Tavern. Let's see if I can get a couple more before the fall. As I said, we picked up our Kiwanis blueberries on Tuesday. Kiwanis clubs in central Pennsylvania and along the East Coast have an annual fundraiser selling 10-pound boxes of fresh blueberries. They're ripe and plump and delicious. It's kind of fun to go pick them up, and it's for a good cause. The Kiwanis clubs are dedicated to helping children, and they do good work in that area. My friend Les Gibbs is a Kiwanis, and I've donated booze, books, and time to his club several times. This morning, I picked up our berries. It's a well-organized event. You get a time slot to show up, so the system's never overwhelmed. The whole process took maybe 2 minutes, and I never even got out of my car. I was directed, checked in, and tagged. The last person in the process put a 10-pound cardboard carton of loose berries on my front seat, wished me a good day, and I was on my way. When I got home, we washed up 5 cups of berries, let them dry, and then mixed in 1/3 of a cup of sugar and a tablespoon of flour. Then Kathy made the dough. Nobody wants to be around me when I'm making dough. It's a bad thing. And mixed about a cup of heavy cream with it at the end. We put the blueberries in a 2-quart baking dish. We made patties out of the dough about 1/2 inch thick and covered the tops of the blueberries with them. Kathy sprinkled about a tablespoon, maybe 2, of turbinado sugar over the top. Into the oven at 350 degrees, and in 35 minutes, it was done. Golden and browned crust, bubbly indigoed berry juice around the edges of the crust. We had our dessert for the wine club dinner that night. And I hate to admit it, but we ate it cooled. We'd had our Chardonnays with a completely chilled menu. Smoked salmon, melon and prosciutto, potato salad, a vinegary hoagie salad, and cheeses. There was just no way anyone wanted a hot dessert when we were eating outside in the heat, under a shady tree, but still. It didn't suffer, though, I promise, and we dug into the sweet berries and rich, juice-soaked pastry. I do love fresh blueberries. Summer. It's not my favorite season of the year. The heat's oppressive, and there's all that mowing and trimming to do, and wasps! But the bountiful harvest of fruits and greens and tomatoes almost makes it worthwhile. As I said, a bit more book news. I told you that my new book, American Whiskey Masterclass, has a final cover design, and that Barnes & Noble made it a featured gift book for the holiday season. And I've also mentioned the event at Iron City Distilling on October 18th with Sam Kumlenik and Matt Strickland, a tasting of single-grain whiskeys and a double book signing. As the man said, though, but wait, there's more! The book officially launches on September 23rd, and we're going to have a launch party at the Dad's Hat Distillery in Bristol, Pennsylvania. More details to come, but Herman Mihalich says he has some ideas, so I think we'll have some fun. Books for sale, and as always, great Dad's Hat Rye whiskey for sale, along with the Lou-approved Dad's Hat Boilermaker menu. There'll be another event the next day, the 24th, at Stolen Wolf Distillery in Lidditz, with a talk on a topic from the book. We literally just settled on the date this morning. More details to come. There's also a special promotion for people who pre-order the book online, an 11 by 17 poster of the whiskey history map from the end sheets of the book. I'll put an image of it up on the Facebook and Instagram pages. This was a last-minute brainstorm the designer and I had, and the execution is about perfect. Pre-order. Get the poster. That's the show. My sincere thanks to Ellen, Justin, and Sofie for the interview. I will sit down and talk to you guys any day. You can find pictures for this episode on Instagram at Stag Podcast and on Facebook at Seen Through a Glass. If you're listening to the show on the radio at WSOV, there are over 50 more episodes to enjoy on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Podbean, really all the popular podcast outlets. If you'd like to toss a bit in my hat to keep the show going, I have a coffee button in my Instagram link tree that's at Stag Podcast and at the Facebook page. Blueberries are one of the very few commercially raised fruits that are native to North America. Others include cranberries and persimmons. Native raspberries and strawberries are not the berries you see in stores, but they can be foraged for in the woods. Blueberries were called star fruit by some native peoples in America because of the star shape at the blossom end of the berry. A typical blueberry weighs between 1 and 3 grams. In 2024, an Australian farm produced a blueberry that weighs an amazing 20 grams and measured a full 1.5 inches across. What's coming up next? Well, I might run the Gettysburg episode I had prepped before I made the impulsive decision to do this one in a rush. But this morning, as this episode drops, I'm doing an interview with one of the biggest food makers in Central PA, a family-owned, longtime favorite I always keep on my pantry shelves. I'd like to lay that on you because we've got some cool stuff for you with that. We'll see what happens. Until then, thanks for listening. This is Lou Bryson with Seen Through a Glass from the smack dab center of the Keystone State.